Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to share some information that I've been sitting with that really surprised me, and I'm thinking it might surprise you as well. As you can tell from my previous videos, I think it's pretty clear that work feels different than it used to, and I think I might have stumbled upon one of the reasons that isn't getting very much attention, but it probably should. And I don't mean that work is getting harder, although that is true too. I mean, people seem tired in a way that doesn't reset after a weekend or after a vacation. I feel like people are more reactive these days and less patient, almost becoming easily triggered. Maybe you've noticed this too. For a while, I wondered if this was just ADHD or just burnout, but in any case, the label doesn't matter. This situation really exists. In actuality, there's evidence suggesting that empathy, actual measurable empathy, has dropped by roughly 40% since the late 70s and early 80s. And unsurprisingly, the steepest drop didn't happen slowly over that time period. It really accelerated in the last couple of decades, so since the early 2000s. And that lines up perfectly with what I've been seeing. So I want to explore today some of the research and the impact that this has on our workplaces and on leadership. But before we dive in, just a slight reminder that if you do like this type of content, subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and maybe explore some of my other videos on my channel. Your support inspires me to continue to share these videos. Now, let's get into it. So when I read the research on the decline of compassion, it didn't feel like an abstract statistic. It hit me quite hard, and it reaffirmed what I have been feeling for quite some time. Just to ground this in real data, this comes from a large body of research led by social psychologist Sara Konrath. A major analysis looked at empathy scores from over 14,000 participants, and it found that empathic concern and perspective taking have dropped, as I mentioned, by roughly 40% since the late 70s, with the sharpest decline happening after the year 2000. What's important here is this isn't about people becoming worse human beings, but rather, it's about the environmental conditions that we're all operating under at the moment. And when I say conditions, I don't just mean work conditions. We're living through overlapping global stressors like economic uncertainty, political polarization, climate anxiety, public health disruption, all layered on top of a digital world that never really seems to slow down. All of this really makes sense because when the nervous system stays activated for too long, compassion is something we try to conserve or even lose altogether. And if you've been leading people for any length of time, you probably feel it too. Reflect back on some of your workplace situations. Do conversations seem to escalate faster than in the past? And do misunderstandings seem to stick longer than they really need to? People seem to also assume negative intent where there usually isn't any. And leaders are expected to hold it all together while feeling just as overloaded as everyone else. Does any of this sound familiar? Think about what work actually feels like now. We're constantly switching contexts, and the shifting sands never seem to stabilize. Notifications and emails never seem to stop. Every issue feels urgent. We're absorbing way more information and way more distress than we were ever designed to handle. And yet, we're still expected to stay productive, stay composed, and remain emotionally intelligent the entire time. It's just too much, and that's not how empathy works. Empathy needs space and attention and a very mindful presence. And most of us are stretched so thin that we're running on cognitive fumes by the time we interact with each other. For me, I've personally noticed my own empathy slipping, and I feel it's related to energy. If I'm overworked and I'm overtired, taking the time to really sit with something and allow feelings to surface, well, that just seems like something I just can't afford to spend time and effort on right now. I'm trying to hold on to every last bit of energy I have. Add to that the fact that so much of our communication now happens through screens. Messages, emails, meetings where cameras are turned off and everyone's multitasking. We seem to be missing tone. We're missing facial expressions. We're missing those subtle pauses where understanding usually happens. So when things go sideways, of course, we fill in the gaps, and likely with information that is not grounded in reality. We are sense-making beings, us humans, and when we don't have accurate information, and when we are under stress, we don't fill those gaps in generously, let me tell you, just the opposite. Now on top of that, let's layer in performance culture. A lot of workplaces, even the well-intentioned ones, still reward speed and decisiveness and, of course, output, the bottom line. Slowing down to understand how someone is actually doing can feel inefficient, right? Emotional nuance doesn't always fit neatly into productivity metrics. Nobody is measuring that. So without meaning to, we start treating empathy like an optional extra instead of part of how work actually functions. And then there's exhaustion. I touched on this briefly. We're exposed to more suffering, more instability, more global uncertainty than any generation before us. Eventually, the nervous system protects itself. People just stop caring. They stop feeling. And from the outside, that can look like indifference or disengagement. If you're anything like me, you might have noticed people snapping in meetings in ways that fully feel out of character. Maybe you've noticed that small issues turn into bigger conflicts that could probably be resolved with a bit more time, a bit of space, and a little bit more conversation. I've noticed less patience for learning and mistakes, and definitely complexity. Leaders feeling pressure to just push through even when everyone is clearly depleted. And then, of course, performance issues get framed as attitude problems. And over time, trust erodes. And for us leaders, whether we like it or not, people take their emotional cues from us, especially under pressure. Remember, we are always on stage. When we're rushed, people feel that. When we default to urgency, people will mirror it, thinking that that is the expectation. When we suppress our own reactions instead of regulating them, that tension spreads throughout the entire culture. And most of this happens without us even saying a word. We don't have to, because it's all observation. So this isn't just about becoming more empathetic in some performative way. It's really about awareness. So what can you do to become more aware? I guess that's the big question. Well, first of all, you can start by thinking about how you show up when you're stressed. Reflect on what you're modeling when things are a bit uncertain or unstable. Do you create space for people to think and for people to process? Or do you unintentionally rush them right through it? Start small. Make some small changes, because even small shifts can make a big difference. Try slowing down a conversation when emotions start to rise. Don't be afraid to name uncertainty instead of pretending that everything's fine. Take a pause before reacting. Remember that the person across from you is probably carrying more than you can see, just like we all are. Empathy at work isn't akin to being soft, but it's more about staying regulated enough to make good decisions. And also creating an environment where people don't have to armor up just to get through the day. The decline in compassion we're seeing is a present-day systems issue, and the good news about systems is that they can change. So to summarize everything I've been talking about, here's the social or global framing in plain language. We're dealing with chronic uncertainty. So people stay in threat mode longer when they don't have control or they feel uneasy. Then we have digital saturation, reduced emotional bandwidth, and fewer human cues. Largely, of course, this is due to screen time and social media. And then we have global crisis exposure, nervous system numbing as protection. When we feel an overabundance of danger and crisis, our systems don't have time to recover. We're in constant escalated stress mode. So we end up feeling numb in order to protect ourselves, to basically protect our own energy. Then we have economic pressure. Scarcity mindset replaces generosity. When there is any kind of shortage, whether it be money or food or safety, we protect ourselves first. It's just a basic human instinct. And then finally, performance-first cultures. Emotional attunement is deprioritized. Organizations still aren't valuing emotional intelligence when they are promoting leaders. The bottom line is still the top indicator. So essentially, all of that means that when leaders understand what's shaping behavior, not just reacting to the behavior itself, well then work becomes more human again, and obviously healthier. And in a world where empathy feels increasingly rare, especially as AI and automation is seeping into every aspect of our workplaces, well, that kind of leadership stands out more and more. And the future of leadership will place even more value on those that have empathy and can show empathy for others. I really hope you found some value in today's video. And just another quick reminder to please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and come back to check out some past videos or even some future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Until then, keep on striving. Bye for now.